What's up, everybody? Craig and Jack back here again to give you our Premier League predictions for this weekend. And look, there's some tricky games in here to call. There's some ones that to me scream out draw. But let's have a quick catch up with Jack first. Buddy, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm buoyed by yesterday's win. I'm not getting too ahead of myself from what you'll see my prediction for Monday night. But there's a better feeling for your week when your team wins, isn't there? So I was feeling poor the last few weeks with Liverpool's results, but last night's given me a bit of a boost. So yeah, I'm feeling good today, Greg.
Are you summoning your inner Nat Phillips?
I am. I'm ready to head a brick through my nan, which I feel like I get with Nat Phillips. I honestly think if his nan came running at him, he'd head her clear.
What a man, Jack. I mean, God almighty, what a performance. Everything in the air, everything. Look, with all due respect, we're going to kick off with Newcastle Villa, Jack, and not the sexiest of Premier League ties, but certainly an intriguing one. And, I'll give you the first crack at this one.
Well, Steve Bruce needs to get his act together and fast. They've been pulled down right into a relegation battle down there. And Fulham have started to pick up points and they're looking good. And it's thrown Brighton and Newcastle right down there. I think Steve Bruce's job is under real threat. I think Newcastle fans are starting to turn on him. They've got a few injuries to top players. Villa have looked good this season and Jack Grealish should be back for this one. I'm back in Villa and I'm going with 2-0 Villa.
I'm close to you on this one. We're not too far apart. I agree Villa win. I agree Newcastle are in all kinds of trouble. I'm going to go 2-1 to Villa. I think maybe Callum Wilson or Newcastle may pull one back.
I think Callum Wilson's injured, mate. I think.
Yeah, that's actually, as I was saying, I'm thinking, is he injured? Well, somebody will. I'll say Maximum with a banger then. Let's go with that. But I'm going for a 2-1 to Villa in that one for me. I think Villa have had their momentum taken away a little bit recently. Their performances haven't been too great without Grealish. But I think I can't see out on a Villa win.
Sorry for interrupting, mate, but I don't think it's even just Grealish. I think people underestimate and underrate Matty Cash. I'm a massive fan of Matty Cash, who they signed from Forest in the summer. I think he's been outstanding for them this season, and he's a focal point really for their defence that has been so strong this season. And I think losing him and Grealish around the same time is what's hurt Aston Villa, but I believe both might be back for this Newcastle game, and that'll be a huge boost for Villa. And I think they'll start getting points together, which comes at a bad time, really, with our next game at Anfield being Aston Villa.
Two magnificent heads of hair as well, disappearing at the same time. Can't be good for any team, Jack. Right, next up, Leeds and Chelsea. An intriguing one, this. I mean, if you asked me a few weeks ago on this game, I would have probably thought a draw, but, we've seen obviously what Tuchel's done but since he's come into Chelsea, and Leeds seem to they've almost fallen off a cliff, Jack.
Yeah, Leeds, not in the strongest of forms at the moment. I know they've had a few injuries. Calvin Phillips came back against West Ham. That's a big boost for them. They've got Rodrigo back as well, which is another big boost for Leeds. Chelsea looking resurgent under Thomas Tuchel, looking really, really good at the moment, to be honest. And I think they're going to push Manchester United for that second spot in the Premier League. But it's hard to tell at the moment whether it's just a new manager bounce or if they really are starting to pull their act together and maybe Lampard wasn't the right man for them. It's a potential banana skin for Chelsea, I think, Leeds, because we know their abilities going forwards. We know they can cause problems, and Chelsea have looked strong defensively, but Leeds will really put them under the cosh. I'm back in Chelsea, though. I think it'll be a 3-1 win for Chelsea.
Yeah, like you, I mean, Leeds usually are involved in games with goals in them. They have struggled a little bit, and I think they'll be safe. They'll stay up, which is great because I like having Leeds in the Premier League. I think it isn't just a new manager bounce at Chelsea. I've seen in the system enough to know that Tuchel knows. He knows what players for what games. He seems to have a better grip, I think, on the squad and who he can trust already than Lampard did. I think maybe even garners more respect in that dressing room than Lampard did. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Chelsea.
We forget as well, Craig, that they're a club that spent 200 odd million in the summer. They should be up there. And Lampard underachieved. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did, to be fair. And Tuchel's come in. He's gone for the back three that we've seen work for Chelsea before. It's what they played when they last won the title. And it's getting the best form out of this bunch of players. Werner's looking a lot better. Havertz obviously had a really good game against Everton the other day. But it's what we should expect from a Chelsea side that spent a lot of money in the summer and should have been threatening for the title this year.
Yeah, I always thought it would be next year they threatened for the title, but at one point it looked like the top four was going to be beyond them, and Tuchel has come in and absolutely turned that around. The next game, Crystal Palace against West Brom. It's not one that I think the neutrals will be queuing up to watch, but to be fair to both sides, Palace are a bit up and down, aren't they? You never know what they get. Sometimes you get Crystal Palace pulling out shock results, and other times you watch them and it is dull as dishwater, and West Brom in all kinds of trouble now.
Well, this is the thing, and I said on the Mundo Sporto podcast earlier, West Brom look down and out. They look dead and buried. They're quite a few points behind staying up, but they've started picking up points recently. And when you look at their manager, you just can't rule them out for staying up. And I feel like this is the game where Sam Allardyce, this is one of the games where Sam Allardyce goes and does the business and comes away with 3 points and a snatch and grab and manages to get a 1-0 win from this. And that's what I'm backing, a 1-0 West Brom win. And yeah, it's so weird because you just can't rule them out from staying up because of their manager. Sam Allardyce notoriously known for going to clubs and managing somehow to keep them up. And this is certainly his most difficult task that he's ever had as a manager. But, there's something in the back of my mind that's saying, don't rule Baggies out because they seem far gone now. They've seen it for a while. But recently they've just started up picking points here and there, and they're just flirting with staying up. So let's see what Allardyce can do. But yeah, I'm backing them to get 3 points at the weekend.
Well, I'm full on the fuck Sam Allardyce camp. I hate the man. But apart from that, look, there's only one man in this world right now that's up there with the Haalands and the Lewandowskis, and that is the big man, Benteke. He's going to show up. It's going to be another Christian Benteke masterclass for me. I'm going to go 2-0 Palace. I honestly think with Zaha being back, with Benteke remembering that he has to put the ball between the posts. A good header from him, by the way, recently as well, and that volley against Brighton right at the end as well. I mean, I'm going to go Palace, Jack. We'll disagree, but the next one is one that this is the one I struggle with the most of all the results for the weekend. Everton Burnley. This one I went both ways. I could make an argument for Sean Dyche and coming there and pulling shithouse tactics. I have to say I haven't been convinced by Everton, even though Richarlison's dug them out on a couple of occasions. They've seemed a little bit more wobbly, even though, look, they beat us in the derby and deservedly so. But what do you think on this one?
I've gone with 0-0 for this one. I think Don Carlo versus Sean Dyche will be an interesting affair. It's like you say, Everton obviously lost to Chelsea on Monday night. It's whether they can turn it around and quickly. They've got a favourable run now. I think they've got Burnley, Fulham, and Sheffield United as their next 3 games. I might be wrong with that. Maybe it's Brighton rather than Fulham. And if they want to be in that top 4 race, they need to get 9 points out of those 3 games. But I can see them slipping up in this one. We saw Burnley against Arsenal. Somehow Burnley managed to get through that game and get themselves a point. And I feel like they'll get a point in that game too.
I think I'm in agreement with you, except I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, but I'm in agreement with you on the draw. I just think it might be an early Burnley goal again and, Everton knocking down the door and eventually getting themselves an equaliser. Next one up should be fairly straightforward. Fulham, Man City. Manchester City again picking up another handy couple of points last night while we were busy conquering all of Europe because we're never going to stop. And they went and basically beat a very good Southampton side very easily.
Yeah, Southampton caused them problems, particularly in the early stages. They were unlucky as well with VAR. I think they were denied a certain penalty when Foden was brought down by McCarthy. I think their penalty that they gave away was quite soft as well. A very minimal contact from Laporte on the Southampton defender. But I've seen them given, and I get why it's given. But yeah, I think they'll comfortably beat an informed Fulham side. I think it'll be 2-0. I think Fulham will give them a decent game. But yeah, I just can't see City slipping up again. I think United were the side to break their record, and it had to be United really. It had to be their rivals to break their record. But now they'll go all guns blazing, and they won't stop until they've confirmed that title, which I think will only be a few weeks away now.
Yeah, I agree with the 2-0. And while we're talking about penalties and iffy decisions, wasn't it great to see Anthony Taylor and the Premier League officials carry that shitty form into Europe for the game last night between PSG and Barcelona? Encroachment missing, weird penalties being given. I don't even want to talk about how bad the English officials are, Jack, but that didn't look great last night.
Well, it's not just English officials. I don't know if you watched Dortmund Sevilla the other night. Obviously, I was doing Porto Juventus on Mundo Sporto, but I saw it afterwards, and there's just an 8 minute. There's an 8 minute clip of just madness where Haaland scores. It's ruled out because he's fouled someone, but then they change it to a penalty because in the phaser plays before, Haaland was fouled. Then Haaland misses the initial penalty, but VAR says the goalkeeper's come off his line, but the goalkeeper's screaming in Haaland's face. Then Haaland scores, screams in the keeper's face, gets himself booked for how he celebrates. It's just madness, and we all criticise English officials, and we have every right to because they're shite. But it seems like it's trickling into Europe as well.
I did say 2-0 Man City, didn't I, there, by the way? I'm agreeing with you on that one. Sorry, I got a bit carried away with the referees. Next one up, I think this is going to be a good game to watch, actually. Southampton Brighton. Both teams play football that I like to sit there and watch. Graham Potter has Brighton playing football the right way, and we know, obviously, the Alpine Klopp has Southampton doing things in the right way. So I see goals in this one, but how about you?
Well, Southampton started the season really well. They've had a dip in form recently, but as I say, that they started strongly against Manchester City. Their defence just looked more open than it did at the start of the season, and certainly than when they caused problems against us, when they sat back and managed to get a clean sheet somehow before conceding like 15 goals in the next 2 games afterwards, which I still can't quite believe, and I'm not bitter about at all. But I think Brighton need points, and they'll see this as a game where they want to get points from. And I'm going with 1-1.
I'm again going for a draw with you, but I've gone a bit higher. I've gone 2-2. I've predicted a few more goals. I've gone Desmond for this one, but we're thinking alike on these, Jack.
Can you see Brighton scoring 2 goals?
They have to do it at some point, mate. they're creating 726 chances a game. Surely at some point 2 of them have to go in.
I just can't believe seeing the XG start, XG expected points, expected goals per game, and seeing Brighton, and it's like, how are they not putting the ball in the back of the net? And you look at some of the strikers that were out there in the summer. Ollie Watkins, maybe they should have been in for him. If they were playing Ryan Brewster in that system, would Brewster be banging goals in for them? But instead they went for Danny Welbeck, which on his day I think he's got the odd goal for Brighton, but he's not someone who can do it consistently, and there's always an injury here and there. And it's such a shame because I really like Graham Potter, I really like Brighton, I like the way he sets them up, and I really believe they're a goal scorer away from being a top half Premier League side.
Yeah, I agree. I like him. I like what he did at Osterunds before he came over. I like the job that he's done there. It is unfortunate. I hope they stay up there because I like watching them play. Leicester, Sheffield United. Leicester definitely having a wobble. Sheffield United picked themselves up 3 points. They're too far gone, surely, to stay up at this point. But, it being at the King Power, what are you thinking for this one?
Yeah, Sheffield United have quite a few injuries as well, and it's come at the wrong time when they need points. Their start to the season was abysmal, wasn't it? And injuries haven't helped them. I can now see why Wilder didn't want 5 subs because their squad is an absolute mess, and he doesn't seem to trust the youth, does he? But despite Leicester's little dip recently, and despite me thinking that Rodgers might end up doing Rodgers and Leicester slipping out the top 4. I can just see Leicester winning this one by 2-1.
I've gone 2-0. So again, we're going for the same sides winning, but yeah, I've gone 2-0. Sheffield United have struggled to score for me a lot, and I know Leicester without Harvey Barnes, but Iheanacho somehow managed to figure out how to put the ball in the net recently, which he couldn't do obviously against Manchester City when it mattered, and I will never ever ever forgive him for that miss because I still swear he did it on purpose. But I'm not bitter. Like you were bitter earlier, Jack, I'm definitely not bitter about that one. The big one of the weekend, I think it's fair to say, is the North London derby. Arsenal Spurs, a game that, causes a lot of families to be split down the middle, a game that causes a fair few eyes around the world, I think it's fair to say, outside of maybe Liverpool, United City, those type of games. The North London derby is a pretty big one. And how do you see this one going?
Well, Spurs have looked good in front of goal recently, haven't they? Bale's come into form, Dele Alli's starting to get into form, and Son and Kane are just special. They're a real special duo, a deadly duo. But their defence is poor. And, I think Arteta sets up Arsenal where he tries to make them more defensively resilient than they've been the last few years. Doesn't quite work, and it's taken their effect away in front of goal. Aubameyang's goal tally last season compared to this season is quite mad. He's had a real dip this season, Aubameyang.
Signed a new contract, didn't he, mate? You know what I mean? He signed a new contract.
Yeah, but I just see a point apiece this game, and I've gone safe really with a 1-1 draw. But a North London derby, as we've seen over the years, form really doesn't matter in the North London derby. The old cliche of form goes out the window in a derby. The North London derby, it really does, and it's always difficult to call. And the North London derby, they usually are bizarre games. I remember a couple of seasons ago, just before obviously that famous Divock goal against Everton, and there was a mad derby. I think it finished 2-2 between Arsenal and Tottenham. Then there was a couple of red cards. And it could always be like that in the North London derby. But yeah, I'm going with a 1-1 boring game this weekend.
I'm going slightly different again. I'm going 2-2. I think there might be I think there could be drama in this one, as you said. I mean, Mourinho kind of knows how important this game is. Bale's come back into form for them a little bit as well. Arteta, it's hard to judge Arsenal because sometimes they get a result and you think, they could be in the right track here. And then other times you watch them and they are dull as dishwater and they just don't look like they know what they're doing. So I'll go 2-2. 2 games left for us to cover. Manchester United against West Ham. Definitely 2 clubs with top 4 ambitions. United, currently a bit loftier than West Ham, but somehow West Ham, week after week, mate, are grinding out these wins.
Listen, I know Mundo Sporto has quite a few Manchester United fans watching, and I'm probably going to annoy a few here, but it would just be typical Manchester United to go to their Manchester rivals, beat them and look very, very strong, and then go to West Ham. Go back to Old Trafford, have West Ham come to Old Trafford, frustrate them, and West Ham come away with a 2-1 win. David Moyes go back to a stadium and a club where he didn't do too well at, and take 3 points from them. And it really would be typical Manchester United to do that. I also think, obviously, with Manchester United playing tonight, West Ham will be the fresher side. Moyes sets them up where they're very difficult to beat. Manchester United, boosted by the fact that obviously Jesse Lingard, who is in form at the moment, isn't able to play. He's on loan, of course, from United, so he can't play against his parent club. So I think that's a bit of a boost for them with the form he's currently in for West Ham. But yeah, I just have a feeling that West Ham are going to take 3 points from this one.
We've just lost half our subscribers, Jack. Thank you very much. It's all right, guys. I got you covered because I'm going for a 2-1 United win in this one. I think they're the better team, if I'm being honest with you. I just think they have moments of quality in them when they need it. I've liked what I've seen recently. It looks like Rashford's getting a bit back to the form that he started.
He's injured.
Is there anybody playing this week, mate, or is everybody injured?
Well, I believe he's had like a shoulder injury for a while or something, and they operated on it. It's still not great. And he went off early in the Manchester derby. He's definitely not in the squad tonight. I don't know if he'll be back for West Ham, but I just think it'll be typical United, mate. I back a draw for them tonight against Milan as well. And they're at home tonight too. But I think I can just see West Ham going there and doing the job.
I can see a 2-1 win for United. I can see Scott McTominay wrestling control of that midfield. I think he's an underrated player, actually. I really do. I think he's got those Henderson vibes that people don't appreciate the work rate that he gets through in that midfield.
If he was Spanish, people would deem him a complete different player. But because he's Scottish, a lot of people, underestimate how good he really is. And I do think McTominay is definitely underappreciated. I think he's a very, very good player.
Well, I've inside information that Harry Maguire's been on the phone to Nat Phillips over the past 12 hours just to get a few tips ahead of this one. I mean, I can't say that it's definitely true, but can we say it's definitely not true? We probably can't. So the last one of the weekend, Monday night, the game that we're both obviously most interested in, Nuno's Wolves taking on our boys, fresh off the back of booking our place in the quarterfinal of the Champions League. I don't know what to predict, Jack. I haven't got a clue what Liverpool's going to turn up, what squad Klopp's going to pick, or what 11 Klopp's going to pick. I'm going to give you again first dibs on this one.
Well, it's a game where both teams are having a disappointing season by their own regards, isn't it? You know, Wolves are really missing Raul Jimenez. They've looked a shadow of what they've looked like.
I know he's injured. They're
looking,
the only one I know.
They're looking a shadow of themselves from the last couple of seasons, haven't they? But you know, they've got quite a good squad in terms of that it's young and they've got some good talent in there. Pedro Neto being one of them. Adama Traore, you know, is one that will certainly threaten us on the counter attack. I'm worried because, you know, they're a good team on the counter, Wolves, and we know they're going to set up at the Molineux to frustrate us, like they did against City for a large part of the game. And they'll be dangerous on the counter with Neto and Adama Traore. But at the moment, it's a bit of a mid-table clash, isn't it? And you know, I may be saying that with a straight face, but I can guarantee all the viewers that I'm crying inside. But you know, I think last night we put ourselves in the last 8 of the Champions League, and I think that'll be in everyone's minds now. I think the players and the coaching staff aren't stupid. The Champions League now looks more likely to win for us than top 4 does. We're not only relying on ourselves to probably go unbeaten between now and the end of the season, but for top 4, we now need teams above us to slip up in the next few weeks. So, you know, for me, I think this one is going to be a difficult task. I've learned my lesson from predicting big wins after we win a game in Europe, and I'm going with a 1-1 draw.
I'm going to be real quick about this because I have to leg it for another video, but I'm going to go 2-1 to the Reds. I think we're going to carry our form in. I think we're going to get over the line, and call me an eternal optimist, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. Look, folks, that's been our predictions this week. As always, a massive thank you to Jack for joining me. We want to know your thoughts, so give us your predictions in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to Mundo Sporto as well. Keep an eye out for the Mundo Sporto podcast, which Jack Gill hosts with varying guests every week as well. You'll find that on Acast, iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere you find good podcasts. So again, thank you to Jack for joining me. Thank you to you guys for watching, and we'll be back again for more predictions next week.